Yamex has two primary sort of modules, the food module and the stock module. And the food module contains recipes, menus, and nutrition. And the stock module contains stock cards, orders, purchases, deliveries. And so basically the food module is a recipe and menu database with nutrition. And the stock module is a procurement ERP. And so there's many procurement ERPs on the market for purchasing things for factories, purchasing things for medical, purchasing things for food. Every industry has their version of this. What's unique and different about Yamex is that we've connected a food program with an ERP. And so these recipes are what you might find in another industry as being a bill of materials. And the bill of materials is, so if this was a car factory, this would be all the components of the car. And then we would plan how many cars we were making. And then that would tell us what we're going to make. Now, food is obviously really different from most cars because in most ERP environments, the inputs are pretty fixed. You have your supplier with the tires, your supplier with the metal, and the specifications are very tight. But with food, there's so much variation and change seasonally, from the customers, from the recipes, artistic choices of the chef, all these things that it's actually quite tricky. And so you have to have a system that's much more flexible in some ways, but also much more rigid in other ways. Because if you go to a standard ERP like that you can build yourself, or SAP or Oracle or something like that, there's almost too many options. So what we've done is we've narrowed down into the things that a chef needs while still having that full ERP functionality. So why is that cool? Is you can take a recipe and a chef who has no technical engineering knowledge can drag and drop ingredients, double click, put in the weight, use the keyboard to move around. And test environment's a little slower, I think, for me. And then put in methods, images. It's a really friendly user face. But behind this is, fully calculated bill of materials that we can use to do purchasing. So until recently, a recipe was just a list of ingredients. And what you would do is you would make a menu. So you'd go into a menu. And then from a menu, you would create orders. And when you create the orders, what it does is it goes through all the recipes, and my time range is probably not right here. But you've probably seen this screen before, and you've seen that it basically separates out all the ingredients into the stock cards. And what's really important about that is that in our system, ingredients are these generic items like bonito flake, broccoli rabe, butter pat, buttermilk. These items are timeless. There will always be buttermilk. But the ingredients you buy vary a lot. So in this example, you can see that the customer has two buttermilks, one from Cisco Corporation and one from Producers Dairy. And they can switch between them. When I do this, now the purchasing will be driven by the other one. The cost is recalculated and the nutrition is recalculated. So just by changing the product, all the data updates. And I can go kitchen specific. So I can even say, okay, for this kitchen, coffee silo, they're going to use a different coconut cream. Apologize for the delay here. It's loading. So right now what's happening is it's loading all of the stock cards. And so this is where the link between the food and the stock module occurs. So I can pick these diced apples, and then I could link, for example, something else to it. So let's just say this. So now you'll say all kitchens use this, but the coffee silo kitchen is using this ethanol heat gel. So you can have kitchen specific links, and we even have a level call unit that goes above kitchens that you can use. So all this is to give you an overall view of the structure, but what's missing, or what's been missing, is this, which is that many times in our customers, recipes are actually made as sold internally as products. So many of our customers have a small factory on campus. It's called a commissary kitchen, or in the system, it's called a production kitchen. And so they might have something like this. This is the Aggie Patty bulk mix. And so this is a ground beef mix. Instead of buying a vegan bulk burger, they actually make their own vegan bulk burger at the CSC. CSC is Central Support Kitchen, or I think it's Central Culinary Support Center, CSC. And so what happens is all the other kitchens on campus buy from this one kitchen. So now a recipe has to be a stock card. And that now we're back, I think, to what we've been dealing with, right? Which is this function here, which allows you to turn a recipe into a stock card. And so now the recipe has become one of those products. And so you saw me link the product to the canned apples. This is similar in the sense that the recipe is actually a stock card. So now the recipe is a product in the system. And so you saw those ingredients, the canned apples. You have one canned apple, but down in the stock cards, you can have many. And so these are all the products you buy. And you can tell just by the scroll bar how many more of these there are, because you can have 20 different types of avocados, 30 different types of bacon, etc. And these stock cards are electronically integrated with the supplier. The price, it gets automatically updated using EDI messages. Purchase orders are sent using EDI messages. So now we're down in the stock module. But the desire is they want to produce these recipes and then put them down in the stock module. And now you can tell this is kind of starting to be complex, because it could be sort of circular in a way, but the way we've designed it, it's not. Now, there's always been some way to do this in Yamix, to order recipes and move recipes around. We don't need to get into the old way, but the new way is to make these stock cards out of the recipe. Any questions so far? And do we kind of see where we are now in the scope of it? Yeah, Mari?
Not any questions and all good.
Okay. So before you could make a stock card from a recipe, but the data wasn't connected. And I'm sure you're familiar with the tickets you've seen where the data is more connected. So what happens here is I have this Aggie Patty bulk mix, and the total weight of the recipe is 80 pounds. And the final portion is 10 pounds. Why is the final portion 10 pounds? Because they sell this in a 10-pound bag. They cook it, the batch is 8, so they cook it in 80-pound batches, but they sell it in these 10-pound bags, and that's why the portion size in the sales batch is 1 each. So let's go look at this stock card. Now there is this open stock card button here, but it's gray. I'm not sure if that's planning on being, if that's going to work or not.
I think we are going to remove the button, because you would need to select kitchen before showing the stock
That
card
makes sense.
values.
Well,
yes.
It's very easy to just search by the ID. Here's the recipe, and you'll see here, great, 1 each, 10 pounds, the sales batches each, and then the sales batch is 1 each over here. Now, I think we were expecting this to be portion and this to be TW. total weight, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, so the sales batches each, but this would be PTN and this would be GW or TW because PTN is this, and then total or final weight, we said total weight is here. So, but anyways, we're not here to do debugging or that. I just wanted to show the basic idea. Let's look at another recipe, and I think that will really solidify it. Once they take the bulk mix, they make patties, a burger patty, right? A single burger. And they sell them. So they use the word sell even internally like this. And so each one is 4 ounces now, 26 pounds in the batch. And the way they sell them is a pack. But in a pack, there's actually 15 of them. So now when the kitchens go to order, the pack will be 15. So this is, let me get this, stock card 15430. So I saved it with 15. And that's great. Although I would expect, interesting. We have to play with this a little, but 15 here. Each one should be 4 ounces because it was a 4-ounce portion. So each patty is 4 ounces, and then there's 15 here. And then the other unit would be that total weight, which is that 26-pound weight that we. There's some work to be done there, but you get the idea of how the recipe becomes a stock card. And that's really cool because then what happens is when they're in the menu and they go to the create orders, it will create a purchase order for that internal supplier. And then that way the kitchen they're going to buy their onions from Cisco Corporation, and they're going to buy their beef from Butcher Brothers. Then they're going to buy the Aggie patty from their own CSC. And the way the system knows that is with the preferred supplier settings. And so I'm right now in kitchen called Central Admin, which it's gray, but you can see up there, it says Central Admin. And so my preferred supplier is CSC. And this is great because now when I go to buy the Aggie patty, it's going to buy it from CSC. Now, it's not just Central Admin that buys from CSC. Actually, every kitchen on campus buys the Aggie patty from CSC because CSC is the only place that makes the Aggie patty. And so what I actually want to do is select all like this, select all the kitchens like this, and then save them to CSC. So I can say that this one kitchen by CSC. Right now, only one kitchen at a time can be set here. Which would be very labor intensive because we'd have to go like this, like this, like this. It's actually not horrible, but it's not great. And this function is going to be done very often because there's a school, for example, Syracuse University in New York. And at Syracuse University, there's no trucks allowed on campus, but they have 10 kitchens. And so they do something called warehousing. And this is very common. So what warehousing is I'm the warehouse. I buy my food from the supplier, but every else on campus, they buy it from me. And so what we would do in that case is supplier Cisco, and there's a script that needs to be run here for this. I would actually select every product from Cisco, every single one. Much more than that. I would pick every store except the warehouse. And I would say all these stores buy everything from Cisco from the warehouse. And then the warehouse buys it from CSC. And so then what happens is when they place their orders, it places an order to the warehouse, and then the warehouse will buy it from the supplier. So that's the warehouse part, is that it allows stock cards to be kind of rerouted internally. The requisition part is converting the recipe into the stock card. And then I assume, yeah, so that's kind of the two main aspects of this. So not sure what would happen if you linked a food bank recipe to an ingredient. That's one of my test cases, but I don't know if that's supposed to be not allowed or not, but I just wanted to show you that recipe is a stock card and the relation between a stock card and an ingredient. I'm not sure if those are supposed to be linked or not. That's on my list of things to check, but we can check that stuff.
That
Yeah.
should not be there.
Not be there. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's on the list though. We'll get to that. We don't need to get into the minutia here. I just wanted to kind of show the whole structure and the whole use case. So what happens next? The kitchen places an order to the warehouse. And there can be a mix. So the cilantro rice, that was a recipe. And then there's also these bottles, these water bottles. Both can be on the same PO. Once they set ordered, they can't save this anymore, which means they can't change it. And this is very important because there's a problem at the schools where the kitchen orders something, then the central kitchen starts working on it, and then the kitchen changes it. And then they say you didn't send what we. So this gives accountability because once they send it, it's sent. So that's great. The only way they can change it now is to call the CSC. So the CSC or the warehouse has this awesome new module that you built called requisitions. And here's those orders. And here they can print the Excel. Print the Excel, print the packing lists, create orders, create the deliveries, and do all these things that they need to do. So the main thing they want to do here is get a total of everything they need to produce. So the Excel is very good for that. And purchase the items that are like water bottles and things like that, not the recipes, but the stuff they need to buy. And then there's some more stuff here we'll get into, going to the production sheet so they can plan production and things like that. But essentially they're done at this point because they can print the Excel, they'll use that to know what they need to make. They can create orders so they can buy the water bottles and the ketchup packets and all that. They can print the packing list so that they have this sort of like invoice to send with each box they're going to send. And most importantly, they can create the orders and withdrawals, the deliveries and the withdrawals. So this will subtract, the withdrawal will subtract the inventory and the delivery will create a delivery. The delivery is an invoice. So then the receiving kitchen can go in here and say, yep, oh yeah, here's what they sent us. See the dollar total, put a note like, actually this was missing, it was broken. So they can audit and check the invoices. The other really important reason we need the delivery is because we're going to use the deliveries endpoint in our APIs and do reporting on the transfer of the food and the cost of the transfer of the food. And so that's another great thing about the deliveries endpoint. But that's the basic cycle. And if we look up here at the tabs, you can pretty much see what's happening. So we made a recipe, we turned it into a stock card. Customer created orders from the menu. Based on the stock card settings, the internal orders were routed to the requisition screen. Then the production kitchen or warehouse used the requisition screen to get the total of all of the orders. So how much water bottles between all the orders, not just one order, created deliveries, and then the kitchen received the deliveries. Seems pretty simple, but it's not.